He told me never to touch that drawer, said it was just old paperwork. For 5 years, I never questioned it. Until one night, he left it unlocked, and what I found inside, it wasn't just a secret. It was the truth about our entire marriage. My name is Rachel. I'm 35. I've been married to Nathan for 7 years. We met at a tech conference. He was charming, confident, and a little mysterious. That mystery used to attract me. Now I wonder what else I missed. Nathan worked from home. I'm a nurse, so I'd leave early and come home late most days. We didn't have kids. Not because we didn't want them, but because Nathan always said, "Not yet." I trusted him. I believed him. But there was always one drawer in his office he kept locked. He said it was where he kept tax records, contracts, stuff I wouldn't understand. And I never had a reason to doubt him. Until things started to change. He became distant, quiet. He flinched when I entered a room, shut his laptop a little too fast. He stopped kissing me goodnight. I started to feel like a guest in my own home. One evening, he said he had to run to the pharmacy. He forgot his phone. I walked into the office to grab a charger, and that's when I saw it, the drawer. Slightly open. Unlocked. I stood there, frozen. Everything inside me said, "Don't." But one voice, the one I couldn't silence, whispered, "Look." I pulled it open, a stack of papers, photos, a black leather notebook. The photos were the first thing I saw, dozens of them. Women, different women, some selfies, some intimate, some looked recent. My hands trembled. I picked up the notebook. It wasn't a journal, it was a catalog, a record, a playbook of deceit, dates, names, addresses, what they talked about, how they met, what he told them. Some entries had stars, notes like, "Might want something serious. Keep separate from others." My stomach turned. This wasn't one mistake. This wasn't an affair. This was a system. He didn't just cheat, he strategized. Then I saw my name. One entry, dated 2 months before our wedding. Rachel, reliable, emotionally stable, good front for family. Won't suspect. I dropped the book. The air felt heavy. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. That was the moment I realized I was never his partner. I was a prop. I didn't hear him come home. I didn't even hear the door open. When I looked up, Nathan was standing there, the drawer wide open, the notebook still in my lap. He didn't look surprised, not guilty, just disappointed, like a child caught with a broken toy. "Rachel," he said calmly, "I can explain." I stood. "Don't. Just don't." He stepped forward. I raised my phone. I recorded everything. The photos, the journal. I sent them to myself. He stopped, and for the first time I saw fear in his eyes. "I'm leaving," I said. "You can keep your drawer. But I'm taking back my life." The next morning, I moved out. I filed for divorce, blocked his number, started therapy. A few weeks later, one of the women from the photos found me. She had no idea he was married. We met for coffee. Then another woman joined, and another. Soon, we weren't just victims of Nathan. We were a sisterhood, women who had been lied to, used, discarded, but also women who healed together. Nathan didn't just lose a wife. He lost control. And I gained the one thing he tried hardest to hide, the truth. Sometimes, the answers we're too afraid to look for are already right in front of us. Sometimes, it only takes one unlocked drawer to set you free. Healing didn't happen overnight. There were days I couldn't get out of bed. Nights I'd wake up gasping, wondering if any of it had been real. I would walk through our empty apartment in my mind. See the coffee mug he always left in the sink, the half-read books on his nightstand. Everything reminded me of a lie I once called love. People asked me if I missed him. The answer was complicated. I missed who I thought he was. I missed the version of him I created in my head. The man who brought me flowers after double shifts, who kissed my forehead before bed. But that man never existed. Grief came in waves. Some days I was strong. Other days I hated myself for not seeing it sooner. I wondered if I was broken, if maybe he picked me because he knew I wouldn't ask too many questions, because he knew I'd believe him, even when the truth was clawing at the surface. But healing also came in waves. In laughter shared with the women who reached out, in group chats filled with stories of pain, yes, but also growth, strength, and fire. We stopped calling ourselves victims. We became witnesses and eventually survivors. One of the women started a blog. Another began training to be a counselor. I went back to school to become a trauma nurse. We weren't just rebuilding our own lives. We were helping others do the same. Sometimes I still think about the drawer, how something so small could hold something so devastating. But I've also learned that the human heart is bigger than any lie. I don't need closure. I don't need revenge. I have peace. And for the first time in years, I have me. So, to anyone listening, if your gut is whispering that something isn't right, don't silence it. Don't shrink yourself to make someone else's lies more comfortable. You deserve honesty. You deserve to be chosen for real, not as a prop, not as a placeholder. And if you ever find yourself staring at a drawer you were told never to open, just remember, sometimes the truth doesn't wait to be discovered. Sometimes it's begging to be found. I used to think love was about sacrifice, about giving and giving, even when it hurt. But I've learned something since I left Nathan. Love without honesty is just performance. And I was tired of playing a role in someone else's script. In the beginning, I questioned everything. Every laugh, every kiss, every word he ever said. Was any of it real? Did he ever look at me and truly see me? But the hardest part, I started questioning myself. Was I too naive, too trusting? How did I miss the signs? That guilt, it doesn't go away overnight. But eventually, I stopped blaming myself for someone else's deception. Because manipulation isn't a reflection of how blind you were. It's a reflection of how good they were at hiding. I started journaling. It felt strange at first, writing to no one, but over time, it became a conversation with the version of me I lost. And little by little, she came back. I changed the locks on my apartment, bought new sheets, burned the old journal in a fireplace during a weekend retreat. That moment, watching the pages curl into ash, it wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming the narrative. One page, one flame at a time. Then came the small wins. The first time I laughed and didn't feel guilty. The first night I slept through without waking up in a panic. The first time I looked in the mirror and said, "You are not broken. You were betrayed." And there's a difference. I started trusting again. Not others, not yet, but myself, my intuition, my strength, my worth. And then something happened I didn't expect. I began to feel free, not just from Nathan, but from the version of myself who settled for half love, from the fear that I'd never heal, from the shame that wasn't mine to carry. People say time heals. That's not true. Time doesn't heal. Truth does. Action does. Self-love does. Now, when I walk past locked drawers, I don't feel curiosity. I feel clarity. Because the lesson wasn't in what I found inside that drawer. It was in what I did after I opened it. And if you've ever been lied to, gaslit, used, please hear me. You're not weak for loving someone who fooled you. You're not foolish for believing what you were told. You were human. And being human is not a flaw. What matters is what you do next. What matters is that you don't let the lie become your story. The lie was his. The life after, that's all mine. There are still moments when it hits me. I'll see a couple holding hands in the grocery store, and I'll wonder, does she know him? Truly, or just the version he lets her see? Sometimes I still flinch when someone's phone buzzes late at night. Trauma has a way of leaving fingerprints on the quietest parts of you. And yet, I no longer live in that fear. I visit it. I acknowledge it. But I don't unpack my bags there anymore. I used to crave closure. Now I understand. Closure isn't something you get from them. It's something you give to yourself. I stopped replaying the lies in my head, stopped waiting for an apology that would never come. The truth is, he was never sorry. He was only sorry he got caught. So I forgave, not for him, but for me. Not because what he did was okay, but because I refused to let his choices define the rest of my life. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's choosing to carry peace instead of poison. I still wear scars, invisible ones, but they no longer feel like shame. They feel like armor, proof that I broke and rebuilt. I set new boundaries. I learned to say no without guilt. I protect my space like a fortress now, not out of fear, but out of respect for myself. And then came something I never expected: joy. Not loud, flashy joy, but quiet moments, the kind that sneak up on you. An early morning coffee with no secrets brewing. A playlist that makes me dance in the kitchen. The sound of my own laughter, unforced and free. And love, I stopped looking for it, started becoming it instead. I fell in love with who I am when no one's watching. And that is the kind of love no one can take from me. To anyone still holding on, still afraid to look in their own locked drawer, I want to say this: you already know. The truth you're scared to uncover is the same truth that will set you free. It might hurt, it might break you, but on the other side of that pain is you, whole, awake, unstoppable. Sometimes survival looks like walking away. Sometimes healing sounds like your own silence finally being heard. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is open the drawer. People think once you leave, it gets easier, that the hard part is over. But they don't tell you what happens after the goodbye. Like how your mind becomes a courtroom, replaying moments as evidence, trying to figure out where you went wrong, trying to rewrite history as if you could change the ending by understanding the beginning. I kept wondering, was I too easy to fool, too quick to trust, too desperate to be loved? But here's what I've realized: he didn't lie to me because I was weak. He lied because I was whole, because he couldn't control me, unless he first convinced me that I was missing something. That drawer, it didn't just hold secrets. It held his need for power, his need to compartmentalize me. Like every other woman, he collected like trophies. But I am not a trophy. I'm the storm that knocked over his shelf, and I've stopped shrinking to fit into anyone's locked box. There were nights when I wanted to burn it all down. Not just the memories, but me. Because when you've been lied to that deeply, you start to wonder if you were the lie. But pain is a strange teacher. It shatters the mirrors that kept you small and forces you to rebuild. Not who you were, but who you were always meant to be. I don't look in the mirror hoping to be loved anymore. I look and say, you made it. You walked through fire and came out glowing. Somewhere in the middle of all this I found power. Not the loud kind, not revenge, but the kind that comes from sleeping with peace, from knowing your life is yours again. There was a time when I hated the woman I was back then, the one who stayed, the one who believed. But now I love her because she's the one who left. And to anyone listening, still holding their breath in a relationship that feels off, let this be your sign. You are not crazy. You are not paranoid. Your instincts are not overreactions. They are alarms, and alarms are meant to be heard. If you're staring at your own version of that locked drawer, afraid of what's inside, remember this: whatever truth is waiting for you in there will hurt less than living a lie. And once you see it, you won't unsee it. And once you leave, you won't go back. Because some of us weren't made to be part of someone's hidden life. We were made to rise from it, to tell the story, and to never forget what it taught us. Truth is painful, but silence is lethal. Speak, break, rebuild.